Hello and welcome to this quick tip, and in the quick tip we're going to be calculating volatility, and we're going to be calculating when the volatility is what we characterize as high, normal or low, and we're going to do that using the following calculations. So we've got two programs applied to the chart. We've got an indicator, as you can see at the bottom of the chart, and then we've got a paintbar study, essentially the same calculation, just different outputs. So let's have a look at the programs. First of all, the indicator, and the way that we calculate the volatility is we calculate the average true range, and then we get a value for the average of the average true range. And so we've got the value as it is now, and then a value as to what it's been over the what I've said ATR baseline length, which in this case is set to 50. And then we take the volume ratio, which is the ATR value, in other words the average true range, divided by the ATR baseline, which is this average. That gives us the volume ratio. And then if use smoothing is set to true, so that we set that up in the user inputs, if that is set to true, then we take a further average of the volume ratio to give us the smooth ratio. If it's not, then we just set the smooth ratio to be equal to the vol ratio. And then we just do a simple classification. So we say if the smooth ratio is less than the low threshold, that is a user input. So we've got low threshold and high threshold that the user can change. So if it is less than the low threshold, we set the regime to be equal to 1, in other words, low volatility, or as we're characterizing as low volatility. If it's greater than the high, then we set the regime, as I put it, to be equal to 3, in other words, high volatility, and otherwise, if it's between the two, we call it regime equals 2. In other words, normal volatility. And we plot those, and we've seen the plots on the graph here. So the paintbar study is almost exactly the same input, same calculation, but the only difference being is when we come down to the visualization, as it were. And what I say is if the regime is 1, plot PB, and I set the color to be red. If the regime is 2, set the color to be green, and if the regime 3, set the color to be magenta. So you'll see that when the value of the indicator is 3, then the paint bar is magenta. When it's equal to 2, it's green, and when it's equal to 1, it's red. So you can just see the corresponding colors, and of course you can change those. So if we got a few charts open here, so say arrange all, and you'll see that I've changed the colors in, for example, this chart with the white background. And incidentally, on this chart you'll notice that the line, the equivalent of the white line, seems to be a little bit more not quite so smooth, and the reason for that is if we go, in this particular case, edit studies, and we look at the user inputs, you'll see that smoothing is set to false. And incidentally, this is where we can change the colors to be whatever we want for this particular case, and also the style. If we wish to make the lines thicker or thinner, we can do that here. So let's look at the programs again, so you can just see those if you want to type them in, create your own version. This is the paintbar study. Here is the indicator. And for Gold Pass members, I've included the program, simple as it is, in the quick tip page.